My 8-hour work day in wholesaling real estate over the last 21 years. I'm going to break down the 3 distinct phases I went through, and you can follow along the journey. Actually, you can copy me and you can easily duplicate my success. So before we get into it, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button. You hit that subscribe notification button to continue to receive the best information on wholesaling today. So I'm going to go through my routine, but I'm going to start from the very beginning. And I went through 3 distinct phases. And I'm willing to bet anybody watching this video can probably relate at one point or another in my phase over the last 21 years. And you can find out where you are, and hopefully you can make adjustments and use my experience to help you navigate through this. And I promise this, if you stay till the end of the video, I'm going to share with you some of the tools I use to make my life much easier in this wholesaling business. Back when I first started in 2003, I actually worked for a company, and my company relocated me all around South Florida. And honestly, I give them credit for getting me interested in real estate. For those of you that know it, I actually worked full-time in a corporate job. I actually had this job for 12 years out of college. You guys know the story. It didn't work out, and wholesaling was my escape from this ridiculous prison cage we call the Matrix. So I worked full-time. Why? I didn't have a choice. I had a big fat mortgage. I didn't really have any money in savings. I had 2 small children, aka Zach, and I wanted to make a change, and I decided relying on the corporate world was never going to make it. So along came wholesaling. I bought completely into it. I didn't have a lot of education. I dove into it head first because that's just my personality with ADHD. And I did this while doing a job 60 to 70 hours a week. So if you're stuck in that predicament, I feel with you. I did it. I did it for almost 7 months. And my goal was to replace my income with my wholesaling. And I did that by month 7. And it was the greatest day of my life because I fired my boss. They begged me to stay. And it just proved my point of why I wanted to be on my own. How did I do it? So I normally had to be in work at 7 a.m. That's right, 7 a.m. I had to get up super early. Now at this time, my wife was working full time and she was a teacher. So I had to help out, get the kids going. And if you guys have young children, you know how this works out. It's a lot of work getting your kids fed, clothed, and ready for school. So at the time they were in elementary school. It was very basic and it was chaotic. There's no other word. But I went to work. So from 7 to like basically 11 a.m., I had to get my employees set. I had to deal with tons of meetings, tons of documents. And honestly, there was nothing I could do the first part of my day. But here's the key in where I made a difference is my lunch hour was kind of vague. Honestly, I could get lost an hour to up to 2 hours in lunch because I was basically, in essence, I was a regional manager. So I would always be going location to location. In between those commutes during my lunch hour, I made tons of phone calls like crazy. I dedicated 2 hours, 5 days a week, and I just made tons of phone calls. I wasn't cold calling at the time. I was taking foreclosure leads and I was calling them trying to set up an appointment. So I had 2 hours. I could take phone calls, but I could get out and do it. Now, listen, if you've decided to leave your job, like find the areas of opportunity. The reality is most people only work about 2 hours in an 8-hour given day. Find the window gaps. Lunch is the best time. Then I'd come back to work from 2 to 5. I would finish up all my meetings, but honestly from 2 to 5, that was my text time. I would text leads back and forth, had no idea what I was doing. And so I made it very tech savvy so I could set up phone appointments. And then when I wrapped up my day around between 5 and 6:30, usually 6:30, then that was my time to go straight to appointments. Now, I was wearing a suit and tie. It didn't work out well, so I actually had to dress down. It didn't work out. And I did appointments in the evening. And then from basically 7 to like 9, I would do follow-up phone calls and I would just do all my paperwork. I would set up my day for the next day. And I did this 5 days a week. Now, when Saturday came along, I was all in. Like I worked a full 8 to 10 hour day on Saturday because I didn't have any restrictions. Honestly, Sunday, if I had an appointment or I had phone calls, I would do it. But Sunday, I would spend the day with the family. And honestly, my first 7 months of wholesaling, that was it. I took advantage of the breaks that most people just take their downtime. Remember, we all have the same 24 hours a day. So if you're going to work a full-time job, take advantage of the times that you can do because lunchtime and that late afternoon and then the evening, that is the best time to do wholesaling. You can replicate that. I know plenty of people that have full-time jobs and still do wholesaling. If that's your desire, you can easily do it. So that transitions me to the next part. Now I left my job. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I left my job. I'm in wholesaling full-time. Now I got to figure out how to get a flow. Keep in mind, 2 young children, period. Okay. So you really got to plan your day out because I was super excited at this point. I was having a lot of fun wholesaling. I still honestly didn't really know what I was doing. I just had one singular job. You ready for this? I went out and found a way to connect with as many motivated sellers as possible. I pushed on that mantra harder than anybody else. Honestly, that's all I did all day when I did it. But let me break down my physical schedule and show you how this worked out. So from 6 to 8 a.m., I didn't do work, but the night before I would look at my schedule and plan out my day. But from 6 to 8 a.m., it was about getting the kids ready and getting them going. So at this point, my wife was actually a school teacher. So I decided, since I had more free time, because wholesaling gave me freedom of time, which we all talk about, I would help take care of the kids. And I'm one of these strange fathers that actually enjoyed this part. Listen, if you have kids, it goes by very fast. They're a lot of work, but I'd get them ready, get them breakfast, get them excited for the day. And then I would actually take them to school. So I was lucky enough to be able to walk them to the school. I tried the bike thing, didn't work out very well, but from 6 to 8 a.m., that was it. Now, here's what you have to understand. If you guys are running full-time schedules with young children, get them set and take an hour to yourself to gather yourself, whatever you have to do at this point. If it's stretching, I don't care if you got to work out. I don't care if you just got to watch the news, which I strongly discourage, is you got to take some me time, get your coffee, get squared up in your day. Basically, that'd be from 8 to 9 a.m. And that's how I did it. And yeah, I'm a big fan of having like breaks. I love 2-hour windows and then leave an hour open. 2-hour windows, leave an hour open. And you'll see as I go through my journey, this is exactly how I attacked my wholesaling career. So basically from 9 to 12, I was locked in on marketing and just making tons of calls. That's what I did. 9 to 12 was my go time zone. So I did 3 hours. To be honest with you, it was a little bit much and it did slightly burn me out. But from 9 to 12, I was all in because I had to get going because I had to pick up these little children in the late afternoon. So I wanted to get going. At this point, I'm a solo operator. It's just me. And at some point, I would recruit my wife to help come join me. So after 12 o'clock, I would take like a little bit of a lunch break. And then basically from 12:30 to 3 or 4 o'clock, I dedicated all to appointments and driving for dollars. It was one of my favorite techniques. It still is. And so from 12:30 to 4, I did driving for dollars and I tried to meet with as many sellers that I set up appointments for. And honestly, I was scared to death doing this part, but honestly, I had more fun in this part of wholesaling. And remember, it doesn't mean for 3.5 hours, I was constantly talking to someone, but here's the difference is I was trying my best to talk to as many motivated sellers as possible. At this point, I'm trying to physically meet them as opposed to just doing phone consultations and setting up phone appointments. So right around 3:30, I would go and pick up the kids. I actually enjoyed it. It was a nice break for the day. And then the kids were kind of wound up and they would always be a little bit crazy. And this is where it got very unpredictable from this point. I would pick up the kids from 3 to 4. I would get them gathered. They didn't have a lot of homework at that age, but you had to give them activities to do. So here's what I want you guys to understand. I cold called and I talked to people. I did tons of follow-ups with the kids screaming in the background. I tried the perfect environment. It doesn't work. Stop worrying about it. People will be more forgiving when they hear kids in the background because they know you're trying to make a difference in your life. Don't hide it. I tried to hide it for about 2 months and I just gave up. So if you ever had kids climbing on you, opening doors, it's going to happen. Don't try to prevent it. Actually embrace it and it will help out your daily schedule. And then basically from like 4:30 to 7, that was my time to do all my follow-ups, try to get final decisions. And occasionally I would try to squeeze in 1, occasionally 2 appointments, but I rarely got away with more than 1 because my plan was after 7 p.m. was to spend time with my family. And that was the goal with wholesaling. Now I was making progress at this point. I'm going to be honest, it wasn't a perfect schedule. My kids came first and then I did everything else. But once you prioritize your day and you have structure with it, it was actually very rewarding to get through it. And there was a lot of ups and downs at this point. 1 month I'd make a ton of money. The next month I wouldn't make any. And I was trying to figure out the journey of wholesaling. And this gap covered basically from my month 8, probably for my next 4 to 5 years. It was crazy. And at that point, I recruited my wife to come help me out with the business. She was basically my assistant. She helped with calls, everything else. And we covered that 5-year gap. And honestly, it was probably the most rewarding time I ever had in wholesaling because I got freedom. It felt so good. And then I knew I was moving into a better part of my life and the kids were getting older and I wanted to reap the reward. So let me walk you through on how my current day schedule works and you can kind of get your brain wrapped around where you're going with your wholesaling schedule. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to give you a current day and then basically from year 5 on what my schedule looks like. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of give you the tail end of what it looks like today and give you an idea of what you can do with your wholesaling business. Remember, you control your day, you dictate your day, nobody else does it. So you make what you want of it. But if you don't make plans and you don't schedule, you're not gonna get the results you want. So let me walk you through and I'll piggyback, and you can piggyback on how you can copy my success. So first thing, I wake up in the morning. I'm here to tell you, I don't have this magical get up at 4 or 5 a.m. Honestly, I figured out after 21 years, it doesn't matter when you wake up. We all got the same 24 hours. You pick the hours you want to work. If you're a morning person, go crazy with it, do it. There are some advantages to getting up early and getting everything done before 9 a.m. when all your emails and the phone calls turn on. I've tried it every way. I used to be a 4 a.m. guy. I used to be a 5 a.m. guy. Here's how I do it now. When I wake up, I wake up. That is the beauty of wholesaling. I typically wake up when the sun comes up. That's it. There is no magical schedule. I find we have the same amount of productivity if you're a morning person as opposed to you're a night person. It doesn't matter. Don't let other people tell you when to wake up. It's ridiculous. So I typically wake up, do what everybody else does, brush your teeth. The only thing is I drink 24 ounces of water, and then I sit down from that point and I just do a 10-minute meditation. And it's a guided meditation. I like it because it kind of sets your mantra of how the day is going to go. It sets you mentally right. And you got to do that before you engage in email or you ever touch your cell phone. Please, if you can take this piece, it will change your life. From that, I get a cup of coffee. And so like 7 to 8 is kind of like the me Rick time. I'm going to meditate, drink whatever liquids I need to do, and I get set right for my day and I'm ready to go. I want to preface this by every day set with a schedule with the night before. I look at it before I go to bed so I got an idea where I got to be and what I have to do. After a certain amount of time, your schedule comes somewhat predictable. And my schedule now is designed on what gives me the absolute most productivity. And I'm not one of these people that just want to have I have every minute planned out for the first 10 or 12 hours of my day. I like to do 2-hour blocks and you'll see it in here. So at this point, I'm reviewing my schedule as I get my coffee. And then basically I'm going through my local wholesaling business. I'm going to go through all the stats, the KPIs, figure out what questions I need to ask Zach. And that's how I look at it. So we look at everything, our short-term rentals, our long-term rentals. We look at our wholesaling operations, how many properties we have under contract, what's going on, how much are we spending, what's our cost per leads, all that great fun stuff. It's really important to know those numbers and you got to sit down and suck them in. And sometimes they're really good. Sometimes they're bad. You have to look at them if you're going to make changes to your business. And then I move on to sellmypaper.com. All those wonderful leads you guys submit us, after our staff combs through them, I get the final layer of them. And honestly, it's one of my favorite parts of the day. I go through which deals I think are going to work. And then I find people I can actually call and I put them on my list of scheduled calls to ask more details about it. So if you have a great deal, submit it to sellmypaper.com. That's how you can connect with me and Zach pretty quickly. So at this point, we've basically covered my morning. I know that but it is a lot to go through, review the numbers, the stats, everything. So anywhere I'm basically covering from 7 a.m. to 12, that's what I need to get done in that day. I got to go over all the numbers. I got to go over deals we're going to work on. And at this point, I am now going to reach out and me and Zach meet on a daily basis. So Zach's my son. We live very close to each other within walking distance. So it's perfect. And we sit down and have a meeting. Now our meetings are a little bit different than most others, but we do have a business aspect of it. And we try to get the meeting done within 20 to 30 minutes. Sometimes they go an hour, but if we're actually having a meeting, we have a start, stop, and we have an agenda. Otherwise, father and son get off tangent. And it's a lot of fun doing these meetings. Right after our meeting with Zach is I now take some time and I go just through the social media. We look at what's trending. What are we doing? We look at my stats, and then I do market research on what's new in the wholesaling business, what laws have changed, what's going on. But honestly, I try to drive my content based on what you guys say, your comments, the emails you send, and what type of titles you guys want to hear and learn at, especially for our freewholesaling.com. So once I get all that information in my head, honestly, it's ready to explode. So at this point, I'm around 12:30. This is when I break. So between 12 and 1, instead of me taking a lunch, I go to the gym and work out. Why? Because I fast, because it's just efficient. It's how it works for me. I figured out my body over years. And number two, when I go to the gym between 12 and 1, nobody's there. So I accomplish two things at once. And then I listen to podcasts. I listen to YouTube videos. I do everything while I'm doing it so I can be multifunctional. I feel highly effective with this operation. It's worked for years for me. And honestly, that's how you need to do it. I'm all about music, but there's a lot of times during the day I listen to instructional stuff stuff I'm trying to learn about. I get back from working out, I take a shower, and then I'm going into, and this is where I'm going to record my freewholesaling.com, everything we do on YouTube, the Rick Ginn channel, my son's channel, and we record. And I feel alive when I record. I can share information from you because it's fast. You get the information and we get to interview you guys and do masterminds. And honestly, I just love this stuff. I really enjoy it. After I do the live streams, I sit down and I review content creation. What are we going to do for the next month? What contests can we have going on? How can we push the limit and impact the wholesaling community? And honestly, I stop looking at everybody else's content and I just focus on what you guys want because that's all that matters. I'm not here to copy everybody else. I get ideas and inspiration, but for the most part, you, the viewer, is the one that I want to satisfy. And so if you have any ideas on content or anything you would like to be addressed, put it in the comments below. And then after that, we flip over to Flip with Rick Plus. This is a service where people can get more time with me and Zach, and it is private. It's not required, but we basically meet these people 3 to 4 times a week, and it's a very private setting, and we go deep into wholesaling on how we can affect their operations, help them out, and then we actually have live events. We have them twice a year. It's a lot of fun. I love connecting and building relationships, and Flip with Rick Plus has allowed me to do it. Make sure you check it out if you want to be a member of that. I highly, highly recommend it. And then after that, I'm going through all my DMs, all my group settings, especially with the Flip with Rick Plus, and I get everything squared away, make sure I meet all my obligations. Sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it takes an hour, but this is the process I have to go through. So around this time, this is basically covering me between 4 and 5 o'clock. And at this point, I'm hungry, dude. I'm famished and I eat. I like to sit down with family and we eat. We do formal dinners on Sunday nights. And then on weekdays, sometimes Zach joins us for dinners, sometimes he doesn't, but I have a daughter. We talk about her day. We talk about my wife's day. And then we talk about what's going on with her family, just like any other normal family would. But at some point you got to eat. That's a great time to reconnect with your family and get caught up on the day. Everybody says, hey, Rick, what do you do after you eat? I go, like, this is easy. I just go out to my dock and I go fishing, man. It's one of my favorite things to do. So much enjoyment. And it's like a meditation for me to go fishing. Even if I don't catch anything, you guys need to have something. So if it's fishing, if it's golfing, I like going out running. It's just so hot this time of year. I typically do it in the gym, but find something to kind of unwind your day to kind of make it easy. I don't think my day is stressful, but it is jam-packed, but you got to have fun while you do it. And then basically at the end, I usually kind of, we like to watch movies and then I'll go to bed around between 10 and 11. I don't have a set frame. I really don't care when I go to bed. I let the day kind of dictate it, but by 11, I'm pretty much done. And then I like to read a book, and I like to use the Kindle in bed because I was an old school book guy, but I found the Kindle is much easier to read, especially when you're in a darkened bed, and it easily puts me to sleep. I get in about 15, 20 pages in a night, and I love it. Now, the schedule's not super sexy, but it works for me. And what I try to do is set everything up in 2-hour blocks and leave yourselves time to get stuff done. That is the key, because stuff comes up in life and you got to deal with it. Remember, it doesn't matter when you start your day. It's just what's most important is that you finish the day and you set your schedule. Nobody else sets it. So let me know in the comments if you have familiarity with my work schedule and you see where I started and where I finished. And I would love to hear from you, and honestly copy it, because I've used it for 21 years and obviously I've had a lot of success with it. And I want you to easily be able to duplicate what I do. So let me know in the comments. And guys, if you got value from this video, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button. You hit that subscribe button to continue to receive the best information on wholesaling today. This is Rick Ginn, and I'll see you in the next video.